All right, we are going to finish off 4.2. Um, the first part of 4.2, we talked about a lot of theorems. We talked about the exterior angle theorem, and we talked about the triangle sum theorem and their corollaries, the babies of the triangle sum theorem. So right now we should know that in every single triangle in the world, if you add up all the angles, they equal 180 degrees every single time, always. And the exterior angle theorem was if you take an exterior angle, which remember the exterior angle is supplementary to one of the interior angles. So this would be an exterior angle. It's going to be equal to the sum of the two remote interior angles. So if you add up these two angles, it's going to equal the exterior angle every single time. One last thing we want to talk about before we move on to another section. It's called the third angles theorem. So this is the next page in your notes. And the third angles theorem is really not that complex. Basically, let's say now we're dealing with two triangles. So let's say I give you this triangle over here, and I give you this triangle over here. Okay, and let's say we wanted to make up angles. Let's say this one has 100 degrees. Okay, and this one has the same one. So these are congruent angles. These have the same angle. Okay, let's say we know about a second angle. Let's say this one is 30 degrees. Okay, and this one has the same one, 30 degrees. Okay, so just to recap, we have one set of congruent angles, and then we have a second set of congruent angles. Well, because of the triangle sum theorem, we know that they all add up to be 180, right? So right now we have 100 and we have 30, so their angles add up to be 130. If we subtracted that, that means this angle, this third angle that we do not know about, would have to be 50 degrees. That's not information I gave you, but that's information you can conclude. Same thing for this other second triangle. The third angle would have to be 50 degrees. And thus, even though I didn't tell you that, you can conclude that these third angles are going to be congruent. Hence, the third angles theorem. So you can write this down on your yellow cheat sheet if you want to. If you want to have all of those together, I would highly, highly recommend it. So on your yellow cheat sheet, you need to add the third angles theorem. And basically, it tells you in this picture, if you can see, we have one set of congruent angles, we have another set of congruent angles, and we can conclude that those third set of angles, N and T, will have to be congruent. It doesn't matter what numbers these angles are. I could have put 1 degree and 10 degrees and 1 degree and 10 degrees. The third angle will still always be congruent. So they don't even have to tell you what the angles are. They do have to tell you that they are congruent to each other. So in our own words, if I could put that in my own words, I would say the first two sets of angles are congruent. So third set is also congruent. Okay, so how can we use that? So how can we apply this? So again, I could give you easy examples like we did up at the beginning, right? The one at the top of the page. Okay, it's already gone. Sorry about that. How we can make it harder. Oh, there it is. It's back now. Oops. Oh, come on. How we can make it harder is throwing in some variables. So let's see. 15 looks hard. It says find measure of angle P and find measure of angle T. So I want to know about this one and I want to know about this one. Okay, so measure of angle P equals measure of angle T equals. I know at the end I need to fill this in. Okay, well, what can I use? I know that we have two sets of congruent angles, so I can use the third angles theorem to say that this one has to equal this one. So I'm going to say that 2x squared equals 4x squared minus 32 because angle P equals angle T. Okay, I have x squared rather on both sides, so I'm going to subtract one of them. Oops. I'm going to subtract this one, excuse me. Okay, so now I have negative 32 on this side, and 2 minus 4, that's negative 2x squared on this side, equals negative 32. And then I'm going to divide both sides by negative 2 to get the x squared by itself. And now I have, let's see, a negative divided by negative is positive. So now I have x squared equals 16. To get rid of that squared, I'm going to have to square root. So x is going to equal, most people are going to say 4, but it's rather plus or minus 4. X can equal positive 4 and X can equal negative 4. And sometimes that confuses people because it's like, what? How come we have a negative answer? Well, let's think. We're not done yet, right? My final answer should have been, what is measure of angle P? What is measure of angle T? So what you're going to do is you're going to plug it in. Let's say I plugged in, and they're the same thing, right? I already said that they're the same thing. So I just have to pick one angle to plug it in, and I think this one's easier, so I'm going to plug it in here. So let's say X equals positive 4. 2 times 4, positive 4 squared. 4 squared is going to be 16. 16 times 2 is going to be 32. So 32 degrees is one answer. Let's say I took negative 4. So 2 times negative 4 squared. Negative 4 times negative 4 is still positive 16. So my answer is still going to be 32 degrees. So one angle is 32 degrees. The other angle is also 32 degrees. Okay. Let's see. I'll set up number 17 with you, and then I want to see if you guys can do number 16 on your own. So number 17, find measure of angle N, find measure of angle P. So now at the end, I want to know what N is, and I want to know what angle P is. So I shouldn't just solve for X and be done. Okay, so the information they gave me is I have two sets of congruent angles. So that means by the third angle theorem, these have to be equal to each other. So I know that angle N equals angle P. So then I'm going to substitute 3x squared equals x squared plus 50. I want to see if you guys can do the math and figure out, answer what angle N is and what angle P equals. And then see if you can also do number 16. We can answer number 18 in class. And then let's see. I want to see if you can answer this reflection. So I need you to go over your notes from last video, and I need you to answer this reflection point problem. You're not going to get your stamp unless you have this one completed. So please answer in complete sentences. And then see if you can figure out the math humor. How many feet are in a yard? Random fun fact of the video. We've talked about Vegas a couple times in class. Vegas, I believe we've said that there's in hotels, right, there's no floor number 13. If you look in hotels or any building, large building, there's no floor 13 because they believe it's superstitious. Also in Vegas, so next time you look and see if your elevator has a floor 13. I don't think I've ever seen one. Maybe once, but I can't remember. I know I always look and there's never a floor 13. Also in Vegas, next time you go, look in the casinos, because in the casinos there are no clocks. So next time you go to Vegas, there's two things you're looking for. The elevators, see if there's a floor 13, and look in the casinos to see if you can find clocks. All right, that's your video for tonight. We talked about the third angle theorem, and you need to also reflect over the other theorems and complete the reflection.